Hey everyone, welcome to Camp in a Box. Today we're going to make our very own Terrazzo stars for your own Hollywood Walk of Fame at home. In terms of materials, this is a pretty easy project. You just need some construction paper, a large sheet of white paper, and some black paint. You'll also need your star template. You're going to need some white paint as well, and a paintbrush to apply the paint with. You're also going to need a pair of scissors, which I conveniently forgot off camera. Here they are. And you'll also need some writing utensils. Lastly, you're going to need your inlay template and a yellow marker so you can color in your template when you're ready to glue it to your star. Get a container of water and some paper towels, and it's time for you to start painting your gray backdrop for your red star. Now, in your kit, you'll get both white and black paint, and you're going to want to mix them together on your brush. Get little dollops of each, and then just start going to town on your paper. You may find that your first color was a little bit too light, so just add a little bit of black and keep on playing with the color till you get a shade that you like. Remember, marble is a natural material, so it doesn't have to be the same uniform color over your entire sheet of paper. While your paint is still wet, go ahead and swirl your dry brush over your paint that you've already put down, so it creates this really cool swirl pattern. This will help break up the lines from your paintbrush and make the color look more natural. Once you're done with your initial pass of gray, it's time for you to go back in and define some details, if you can keep your paper flat, like I apparently am having trouble doing. Just add a little bit of black and white and go to town with those swirls, making your flat piece of paper look like a natural piece of stone. Once you're happy with how your project looks, set it aside to dry and get started on your star template. Go ahead and grab your construction paper. It should be either red or pink, as well as your star template and a pair of scissors. Cut along the black lines to cut out your star. Once you've cut away the big parts of the white paper, go back in and trim the edges of your star template. You don't want to see any extra white paper along your black lines. Once your template is cut out, go ahead and start tracing it onto your construction paper. Remember to start in one of the corners of your construction paper and use a pencil or a colored pencil, unlike a permanent marker like I did. You'll see why this was a mistake later. There should be plenty of space for 2 stars on your construction paper. So wiggle around your template and find a spot that works, and go ahead and trace that one as well. Once both of your stars are all traced, go ahead and grab your pair of scissors and start cutting them out. You're going to want to separate the 2 stars into smaller pieces of construction paper, and then once they're separate, you can start freeing each of the stars from their own little sections. Remember to cut along the black lines and to go back in and trim up any extra paper once you have the majority of the paper cut away from the star. Set your stars off to the side and grab your medallion template. This template includes the traditional brass medallions that go in the stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, as well as some individual and new ones that I created to fit new entertainment media that we might see in the real world. After thinking about it, I decided to use the gaming medallion because I love playing games on my Nintendo Switch. Go ahead and grab your yellow marker once you've decided which medallion is right for you and color it in before you cut it out from the rest of the paper. Don't throw away your medallion template once you're done cutting out your own medallion. There should be enough material in your box to make 2 complete projects, so somebody else in your household can make their own star as well and use a different medallion from you. Make sure you really trim up the edges of your medallion, because it'll be very easy to see the white extra paper against the red backdrop of your star. Now it's time to figure out where on your star you want your medallion to go. Normally it goes opposite of one of the points towards the bottom of the star. That way you have plenty of space to write your name. Go ahead and mark where your medallion is going to go with a pencil so you can set the medallion off to the side and work on writing your name. Go ahead and grab a scrap piece of paper and use that as a straight edge to draw a nice straight line across the top section of your star. Then you're going to want to count how many letters are in your name. I have 5 letters in my name, so I started with the middle letter and made sure that it was pretty centered on my star. Once I had that set, I could work to the left and the right, just spelling out the rest of my name. It was kind of tricky to get the size of the letters just right, so feel free to use a scrap piece of paper if you need to practice before you start on your actual star. If your name has an odd number of letters, always put the middle letter of your name in the center of your star. If your name has an even number of letters, take your 2 letters that are in the middle of your name and put them on either side of an imaginary center line in your star. That way you can make sure you have roughly the same number of letters on either side of your star, keeping it symmetrical. You'll want to trace back over your name with a darker marker, such as a permanent marker or just whatever marker you have laying around. While I'm doing this, you can see on the edges of my star that you can actually see little bits of black from where I had traced the star from the template using a permanent marker. If you want to avoid these lines, use a pencil to trace your template instead of a permanent marker. We're almost done with the star. Line your medallion up with the 2 lines that you had created before you started writing your name. Then grab your glue and a paintbrush, or your fingers if you're feeling messy, and get a good layer of glue on your star, right between those 2 little lines that you had made to mark out the medallion spot. Then press your medallion onto the glue, making sure it's facing the right way, and gently rub it down with your finger to make sure that it sticks across all the edges. Set your star off to the side and give it some time to dry. In the meantime, check on your gray sheet of paper. You can tap it gently to make sure that the paint is dry. If it's not, give it a little bit more time. Looks like mine needed it too. I let the pieces dry overnight and they're both ready to be adhered to our big piece of gray paper. I pressed the star down and put little dots at the tips of all of the stars. You want to make sure that your star is centered on your paper. You're going to use these little dots to make sure that you put your handprints in the correct places on the paper. Go ahead and gently press your hands to different parts of the paper to figure out what area your handprint's going to fit the best. I'm an adult, so I have bigger hands, so I ended up putting my handprints on the bottom part of my paper. Set everything to the side because this part's about to get messy, and grab your white paint and lather up your paintbrush. Then you're going to start painting your hand. You want to make sure you have a nice thick layer of white paint on because you'll be pressing this hand onto your paper in order to leave your very own handprint. If you have enough paint, go ahead and grab your paper and get ready to press down. You'll want to press down your hand all at once and hold it for a couple of seconds to make sure the paint transfers from your hand to the paper. After a few seconds, use your free hand to hold down the paper near your hand and then lift your painted hand all the way up. Repeat this process with your other hand. Figure out where you want to press down your hand and then go for it all at once. Press down gently for a couple of seconds and then use your other hand to hold down the paper when you lift your painted hand away from it. You're going to want to set your paper aside to give your handprints time to dry. It looks like my handprints faded quite a bit, so I went ahead and grabbed a thin brush and the rest of my white paint so I can go back over and paint over my fingerprints and handprints to make them pop from the gray background a little bit more. You may want to repeat this process several times depending on how white you want your handprints to be. I was happy with how my handprints turned out, so now it was time to glue the star into the center of the piece. Make sure you line it up with the dots that you drew earlier to keep your template in place. And then flip your star over, grab your glue, and start gluing the back of your star in the middle of the shape. Your star is going to want to start curling up as soon as you put on the glue, so only put glue on about 3 points of the star before you flip it over and press it into the center of your piece. Press down gently to make sure that the star sticks to your paper. Once you're satisfied with that, you can grab your paintbrush, dip it into your little cup of glue, and then glue down the remaining points of your star. I painted directly onto the gray paper and then pressed the points of the star gently along. Repeat this process on the last remaining point of your star, and then go back and gently glue down any of the very tips of the points that weren't quite sticking. Then grab a piece of cardboard and something heavy to weigh it down to help everything dry flat. At this point, I decided to outline my handprint with a black marker to help it pop a little bit more from the gray background. However, you could always go back in with another layer of white paint and skip the outlining process. I would recommend waiting until your paint is fully dry before you start outlining though. I made this mistake and jumped in a little bit too soon and may have gotten a little bit of paint on my permanent marker. It's easy just to wipe it off on another sheet of paper and keep going though. And that's pretty much it. Once you're done outlining your handprints or adding another layer of white paint, let everything dry, maybe fan it a little bit with a piece of cardboard you have laying around, and you should be all done. Remember, there should be enough material in this particular craft for you to make 2 different stars, so you can have your own mini Hollywood Walk of Fame in your own household. Thanks so much for crafting with me today, guys. Look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye-bye.